who face eternity easily forget what a lifetime means, what an ending means.
You know it doesn't have to be this way.
No, Kunavang, it does. They need me.
Welcome, End of Dragons Daily 90. Wow, we got a lot of projects going on at the moment. There have been streams happening. There's the big core story, Guild Wars 2 Ultimate movie cut that I'm working away on. I just reviewed the marionette for you guys. I've got all the legendary lore coming up. And there's this itch in the back of my head all day thinking, oh, I should do another End of Dragons Daily. So let's do it before all of these conversations we've currently in the middle of kind of go a little bit cold. And this is an important one as well because I want to segue us into the next big topic. We haven't had a defined topic for a while. Today won't be one either, but there is an extra piece of promotional material that we haven't talked about just yet. It's not all about the Elite Specialization teaser, it's a little bit about this too. So here, if you've already alt-tabbed, take a look on screen. This is the screenshot of Cantha. I'll say no more. You can give me your ideas and your thoughts. Obviously, it's on the main website. If you want to look at it a little bit closer, you can check it out on the wiki too. Tomorrow, I'm going to dedicate End of Dragons Daily to this. And that might be a little bit of a stretch, a little bit difficult. So the more thoughts you have, the wider base of opinions that we have, the better. Any observations, things you guys think that I might miss, let me have them. And then hopefully we'll get a really nice detailed video about it and our first depiction of the expansion. Sunquil Peak doesn't count. The footage in the background today will probably be some of me playing Bitter Frost Frontier. I've got a lot of footage I want to show you guys at the moment, especially at the moment since having fought the marionette. I really want to find a Ranger build. I'm just not inspired about playing Ranger or doing things on Ranger, and I think it's because I still haven't really clicked into a very smooth, easy, spammy build for the class to use. The first thing on my mind is some kind of Predator's Cunning, Soul Beast with short bow. But I want to try some power stuff too. I think I found something interesting. It's running Dagger Axe with a versatile pet. So Prelude Lash allows you to pull him in on a really low cooldown. It puts quickness on you. And then you can Axe 5. The autos are constantly pumping your health up. You've got more quickness from the Dagger 3. Kind of a fun idea, and I haven't really played with Soul Beast on Dagger at all, even though it is its weapon. It's footage I really want to show you guys, but maybe we'll wait. Any thoughts on Soul Beast Buildcraft, let me have it down below. If I can find something good, I might update my whole open world build series, really. Because I think I've got some valuable things to say and some new variations to show you all. Right, let's move on in. First, a tweet. I will pull tweets for End of Dragons Daily. This seems pretty appropriate. It's Game Dev Brian. Sorry you never got a response yesterday. I'm doing it on the video. He says, WP, I'm surprised nobody has talked about Braham using his fists as a Guardian yet. I'm 100% sure that it's a clue to Guardian getting the elite spec of Monk and us getting hand-to-hand weapons. Just saying it might be a thing. So, I have heard this before, and in the context of all this stuff about Spear, I do think it's worthwhile opening the door a little bit to this idea of what other weapons might come, because, you know, just taking the aquatic stuff and dumping it on land, we're all talking about as like an argument of efficiency. I'm sure that there's some Guild Wars 1 players that really want their Voltaic Spear on land, and they really want to have that Paragon feel or whatever. You got to remember, a lot of Guild Wars 1 players just use Spears on any old caster class, because playing Spear plus Shield was just a great weapon swap to swap into if you're taking a bit of pressure, or, you know, in fact, basically all classes. If you had Adrenaline, you might want to have Spear just to build a bit of Adrenaline before you charge in there and melee on, say, a Warrior or something. So on those grounds, we talk about Spear a lot. But how many people are talking about Trident, really? How many people are talking about Harpoon Gun? I like the idea of like a heavily water-themed elementalist called like the Poseidon that uses a trident for sure, and there'd be those same arguments of efficiency, but is it really the best thing in the world? What about totally new stuff? And you know, if we're talking about an era of Guild Wars 2 where the studio is really focused on End of Dragons and they're doing big things like new races, I think that there's more potential out there than you guys might realize. This Monk thing doesn't seem very crazy to me at all. I think a lot of people would take that tweet and say, oh, this is ridiculous. But hold on, guys. They were very explicit about elite specialization hints in Season 2 for the Reaper, especially with Marjorie getting the Greatsword. I do think that they could have been doing that again. It's weird that the Season 3 into POF era didn't really have a great equivalent. And let's look at Monk, right? A lot of people say, I want the Monk in Guild Wars 2. And it's a weird thing to ask for, really, because a lot of those original Guild Wars 1 Monk abilities, like the heal abilities and stuff, they're already in Guild Wars 2. They're just filtered out across the existing roster of professions. As I mentioned in the previous End of Dragons Daily, what ArenaNet did in 2012 is they released a game that covered all the bases, really. They did have these radical mechanics ideas about breaking apart the MMO Trinity, and I think the healer role became the support role and was affected in a lot of ways there. But the theme of the abilities are there, they're just spread out. And yet people still ask for Monk. There might not be much analysis behind a request like that. There might not be much substance to it with the way that the game is built, but still it's what people want. And as I've said in End of Dragons Daily many times recently, like with the should they do dungeons versus fractals discussion, sometimes I do think whether it's realistic or not, the studio might like to pursue some of these ideas that are just common desires. The Monk is a common desire. And how does it look then if you're really going to do that? Well, you go with the martial artist side of it. You know, you think about Guild Wars 1 monks, a lot of them were like shirtless, tattooed, bald, martial art feeling guys, even though the way they did damage was with smiting prayers, and everything else they did was kind of support related, and there really wasn't this idea of any bodybuilding or athletics with them. Maybe Guild Wars 2 can add a monk that zeroes in on that side of it, and this is still a valuable way of appeasing all those people that still want the monk, even though like most of their abilities are already in the game. So I've been a little bit wordy with my response there, but I do think it's a great idea. And going hand-to-hand combat, you know, it's funny, people are always saying, oh, they can't do new weapons because there's too many animations to build. But really, the way that Guild Wars works is sort of no matter what the weapon is, no matter what way you slice it, you're building 5 weapon skills, or 3 weapon skills, or 2 weapon skills. And, you know, depending on how elaborate those abilities are, depends on how many animations are attached to it and how elaborate those are. But you're kind of having to make those, how the weapon is swung, how it is magically utilized, and so on. That kind of isn't really the discussion. I think the actual problem with totally new weapons and the idea of going unarmed and stuff is like how the item side of the game works. Like, what does this mean? They're adding a new category of weapons called Knuckles to the game, and there are no skins for Knuckles, or there's a new set of skins for Knuckles. How many skins do they make? How do they filter those as drops throughout the world? Is that particularly viable? These are all questions that's difficult for us to ask because we don't know how the game's coded. We don't work at the studio. But these are the actual wriggles of it, the challenges to be tackled as far as I can see. And those are the same, whether you're reusing underwater weapons or adding totally new stuff. We're talking about spear and trident and stuff so much as an argument of efficiency. And to me, it's like, well, no, I think as soon as they open that door, they may as well be doing any number of creative things. And this could be one of them. And I just want to say that, for the record, I'm in the camp supporting an idea like this. We might not see it with End of Dragons itself. I worry that End of Dragons is very crunched and they might have bitten off more than they can chew. It could feel a lot like Heart of Thorns in the end. But certainly after that, and I appreciate how funny it is for me to be saying this on a record years and years and years and years, I think it's open for the Guild Wars 2's future, for sure. And maybe closer than most people realize. A little tack on here as well. This is a conversation that I haven't had out loud. I don't really have much to add on, but let's put it out there for anyone who might not know it. Gustav, speaking of hints about elite specializations and stuff, Gustav Metal says we already have melee spear animations with the Sun Spears. You can see them even better at one of the Thunderhead Keep parts, the one where you take bets on multiple matches among NPCs. Sometimes Sun Spears take part on those matches, and they already have unique animations, and they usually kick ass. So I don't really see that far-fetched that use spears as a land weapon, because it's already implemented in game. Yeah, and as one of you guys mentioned in the comments here as well, they were hinting at this even earlier back than that, around Lake Doric. They had some Seraph with land spears, and maybe actually Core has a place here or two. The Lake Doric one's interesting to me because I always look at them adding Seraph stat set as a hint about Logan and maybe the firebrand, that Logan was going to become one or something. And that would be right around the time where they probably would have set in stone what they're doing with POF by then, and you know, they could be doing those kinds of hints. And then none of them really came forward in the end. But the idea that maybe they wanted a spear user for POF and then reined back on that, and then the hint was in Season 3, and then it didn't matter, and then finally it came in on Season 4 or something, I think is all pretty plausible. But again, it's like, right, they made an animation for swinging it. If we're assuming multiple of the 9 professions get spear, only one guy's going to do that, you know? When I swing an axe on a warrior, it's very different to how I use it as a ranger. They've never done... Oh, do they double up? Let's see. When I swing a mace on a guardian, does it look exactly the same as swinging a mace on a warrior? Obviously, the guardian drops the symbol and has, like, glow blue effects, but the actual swings, are they the same? Zephyr has a follow-up thought on the Armory. With regards to how you state Guild Wars 2 philosophy should be about eliminating the thousands of hours of grind before being able to enjoy the quality of life. doesn't that imply that you would be in favor of making all Ascended gear stat selectable and available within the Armory? Fundamentally, as a solution that you've proposed it there, I don't think so, no. I wouldn't just dump all of them in the Armory, but yes, exactly. I think that the Ascended tier, I think the Exotic tier, and the Rare tier, all three of these should be experiencing at least a slice of the quality of life that is now out there in the Armory. That's absolutely what I want. You know, it's not just a matter of philosophy either, it's a matter of pragmatism. One of the big things I commended about the Armory in my most recent video of it, where I actually did my patch review, is how it allows people to, specifically, you know, the right-click weapon swap thing this is, which technically isn't the Armory. But I was saying it's really good that they're kind of embracing the idea of buildcraft because it allows them to make more sophisticated content in the future. Well, that's all well and good, but if we're really just looking at the Armory, it's such a small slice of the community that's really getting access to all of that. The ultimate dream would be that the majority of the user base, the thickest end of the bell curve, most of the population, they get to experience these kinds of things. And actually, not just like after a long time or maybe at 80, I would actually, in a perfect world, have a lot of these kinds of systems getting integrated even as they're leveling. So you're absolutely right. That is my view. You know, we can have more tangible conversations about how exactly unlocking stats should work and how they could expand on the customized menu. But top level, you're totally right. This isn't really a message that I think matters for most people, but maybe some of you out there are feeling a similar way, and I don't know, I want to give some words of encouragement. Nuri Michael says, is quoting me, WP, I'm editing a video with the entire story, ... while I'm planning for a week on how to start a series with the story in a more cinematic way, just as a way to start my YouTube channel, ... I guess I have to pass on that and think about something else. Listen, man, I gotta say, there's a weird thread, I say weird because it's kind of peculiar to me in some ways, that either on the WoodenPotatoes subreddit at the moment, which is a bunch of people discussing, you know, has WP ever encouraged you to make videos and stuff? And I just want to say to anyone who watches what I do or wants to be covering this game, the Guild Wars scene is incredibly small. There's not many people in the audience, and there are even few people actually making videos for them. If you truly believe in this game's future, there's no reason why you shouldn't feel comfortable making videos and getting people to see your stuff here. There is plenty to go around, especially if the game grows over time rather than shrinking. And you know, guys, we're on the internet. We are a very weird generation, really. We're wrestling with something that no other generation of humanity has ever had to deal with. And it's this global, massive user base that means at any moment, at the click of a button, you can see someone who's already doing what you want to do and doing it better than you can currently do it. And it is a really hard thing to deal with. It is the most demotivating, sad thing in the world, especially if you're like me and you want to be, you know, you're a bit of a hipster at heart. You want to be unique. You want to be different. You want to stand out of a crowd. And now you've been thrown into a life where you are a part of the biggest crowd imaginable. So you kind of just got to push that stuff aside to a certain degree. But again, my advice is focus on you. Don't focus on me. And don't focus on anyone else, just your own ambitions. That's the only way you can go, really. And just to tie this to End of Dragons, more content creators during End of Dragons is of course a good time, right? I have a section on the Spud Discord where you can always share your stuff, even when the subreddit will try to box you out. Back over to Elite Specs, Alastair Boney says, so because I've seen some thoughts on what kind of new skill the Mesmer Elite Spec could be, I've considered that conjure weapons might make sense. If your illusions are turning into daggers, why not conjure other weapons to use? And it made me think back on the Elementalist conjures, how they still feel kind of meh. When I see them used, it's always just a hammer for the 4 ability when there isn't a higher DPS option, which, although technically optimal, feels kind of bad. Spending a 60-second cooldown to conjure a weapon you're going to use at most for 5 seconds doesn't make for great gameplay, and it has me hoping that Mesmers get conjures, or they'll go back and change the functionality of Ellie conjures. So yeah, a couple of things on this. Again, this is kind of weird, where this is like a common discussion point, but I actually haven't articulated out loud. You know, a lot of people have liked the idea of illusionary weaponry, a Mesmer skill from Guild Wars 1, and that might be the name of the unique profession mechanic for this throwing knives thing that we're looking at. I think that's very possible. And separately too, I think conjure weapons as the utility skill class, which I don't think is being depicted on the art for what it's worth, I think that makes perfect sense to match up as well. So much so that, you know, if I had to put money on it, if I had to make one guess about what the utility skill class is, I do think it'd be conjure weapons. I do think that would come with an update to Ellie. You guys might not know this trivia at this point, but years ago, I think back right before Heart of Thorns came out, in the massive specialization stream where the devs went and talked about all the updates they were making to the game, in that particular stream, they mentioned that conjures felt a bit wonky, and that they wanted to update them. And I believe they said they were thinking about the idea of them being like engineers' kits, which is, you know, kind of one of the go-to suggestions. I don't actually know whether I really like the kits idea. I think kits feel really weird to play a lot of times. And as I mentioned on a recent End of Dragons, actually some of my favorite stuff about the game are the big transforms. I like Lich form, I like Bear form, I like Charzuka. I like these powerful moments where we get like a totally fresh new flavor and experience from the combat, and then we kind of move on. I like Tornado, I like stuff like that. And I feel like conjure weapons should lean into that kind of experience, which means they're not like a constant access thing. And I also think conjure weapons too, that the coolest thing about them that makes them unique is that cooperative side of it, where I can give it to someone else, and you know, it's an environmental weapon that someone can pick up. These are really fun, interesting parts of the combat system that just turning them into kits doesn't necessarily fix. So if the devs do an update to this classification of utility skills, those are the elements that I'd want them to emphasize. And then, yeah, whatever they decide on could totally come on over to this new Mesmer thing. There could be a new rune that interacts specifically with conjure weapons, and that works backwards to the Ellie. There's a lot of beautiful potential there, and I really want to see it. We didn't with Path of Fire. I think End of Dragons has got to be the time, right? Quick comment here, because the person has been so diligent. Epic Gaming of Legends has dropped this message on so many of the End of Dragons dailies recently. This is a whole video idea, okay, which I'm actually rejecting, but legendary weapon ideas. So there have been some cool posts on our Guild Wars 2 of people making fan art of what the new legendary generation might look like. I have to say, guys, I'm not very inspired on this. You know, maybe I could rattle a little bit of lore to you about powerful artifacts and things that maybe have precedent, just like how the Claw of the Carner kind of became a weapon. But beyond that, I don't know. I don't think I'm your guy. We are going to a kind of a rich area of the world for artifacts and weapons. You've got all the stuff with the urns. You've got the stuff with ritualists and kind of their version of weapon skills, which maybe you could find actually being repurposed into legendary. So there are cool ideas. I just don't know whether I can get a whole episode out of it. Not really. What do you want me to do? Just talk about the new kind of rainbow footfalls they could add? What kind of effect would go up the wrist? It's really something for an artist, I think. So there you have it. That's End of Dragons Daily for today. Once again, check out on screen this image here, not art, this screenshot of Cantha. Where is it? Why is it? What does it suggest about masteries and mounts and all that kind of stuff? Really think, guys, there's probably some good discussion we can get. Let me know some of your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the battle pack music and stuff that I've got in the background. I'm working on my microphone a lot again, because with this Ultimate Story Cup video, I really need the commentary to sound good. So I'm back in this place where I hate my microphone again. So yeah, the audio balance might be all over the place. Just let me know what you guys think. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.